Hello, hello everyone. Good to have you here tonight. Wow, it's finally here tonight. Our real asset and money webinar is holding, and I hope you are set for what is about to happen in this webinar tonight. I'm sure you're going to learn so much from what we are here to share with you today. So, guys, it's good to have you here. If you are joining us, if you are joining already, I want you to go to the comment box and type your location. Type your location. Let me know where you are joining from. Let me know where you are joining from. Good to have you here tonight. I celebrate everyone joining me here tonight. And I know that you are in for a short time. Yeah. Yano Lua, good to be here. I am ready to learn. Awesome. Focus Christian Focus Christian College. Awesome. I'm awesome. Awesome. I'm ready. So I am ready as much as you are. I am as ready as you are. Okay. So if you are joining, I want to see your comments in the comment box, in the chat box. Just go to the chat box, drop a comment so that I can call you out. Yes, I want to hear from you. Yes, Yano said she's joining from Oshun. Awesome, awesome. Okay, this is Mr. Thompson from Benin City. Wow, that's lovely. That's lovely. So good to have you here, Mr. Thompson. Mr. Thompson, good to have you here all the way from Oshun. All the way from Oshun. We have our guests already, but before I bring him up, I'm just going to do a quick housekeeping before it comes live. So, ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to know that tonight you are going to learn a great deal in this webinar tonight. And I'm not just going to do justice to the topic tonight, but our legal practitioner is going to be doing that. Okay, so just fasten your seat belt and expect so much information to come to you today. Okay, so I want to let me share this on the Facebook live and see if we could get more people to join. Awesome. Wow, Ifi Oshinolu, thank you for joining. That is my good friend all the way from Kenya land. It's good to be here, joining from Ota, Ogun State. Yes, good to have you here. Good to have you here. You registered, and I saw that you really mean to learn a lot from this session, and I'm so excited. So, guys, I'm as excited as you are, and I want you to know that you are going to learn so much from tonight's webinar. So, quickly, before I bring my guests on tonight, let me introduce myself to you, should in case you are meeting me for the first time. My name is Olauton Jeremiah. Yes, Olauton is my surname, Jeremiah is my name, and I'm the CEO and Managing Director of Whittyville Properties Limited, a real estate solution company right here in Nigeria. And we are basically into sales of land for residential, for commercial, and even for farm. So we sell land for commercial, land for farm, and then land for residential. If you are looking for secured land, looking for genuine land around Nigeria, of course, at the moment, we are more focused on the the southwest Nigeria, but at the same time, it doesn't mean we don't have connections all around. So if you need land anywhere in Nigeria, we are available to serve you. And apart from that, we also do have our own estates where we sell land in pieces to people. And I'm also going to be sharing with you an exciting offer here tonight. And what the offer entails is that it's going to help you build wealth with real estate. You might have heard how much people say about real estate, that it helps people. It helps 80% of the wealthy people around the world to accumulate wealth, to build wealth. And the question is, how exactly are they doing it? So these are this is the offer that will be helping you to really do it the same way they are doing it. You're going to be hearing that before the end of this webinar. So I want to fasten your seatbelt. Don't be in a hurry to leave. In fact, I would even ask you to share the event with other people. Share it on your Facebook, share it on your Instagram, share it on your WhatsApp status, share it on WhatsApp groups, everywhere. Just ensure you share it. And for those who are joining on Facebook, yes, we have a link. We have a link to be a part of this session, to be a part of this webinar. Just go to okay, I'll drop it in the comments box so that you can get to see and then join the webinar live on YouTube. Or you can as well go to YouTube and search Wittyview TV and you would join this class. Okay, so good to have you here. And I want to believe that you are also with your pen and your paper because you are going to learn. And again, I want to ask you for one thing, and it is that you should ask questions. Please ask questions, because one of the things tonight's webinar is going to be helping you to accomplish is to load you with enough information. Okay, so I want you to hold your pen and ensure you are writing. Let me show you something here so that you will not think I have all the informations around in the world. No, look at, I'm also going to be writing as well as asking questions. Of course, I'm the host for tonight's webinar, and I'm also going to share a little on things that you need to know about real estate. But of course, the major focus for tonight is on legal documentation and due diligence in real estate. How exactly you can go about this. So again, for those who are joining me live on Facebook, we have this webinar hosting on YouTube. So you can be a part of this. You can be a part of the chat. You can be a part of the webinar for real in lifetime. Yeah? For real when you go to join us on YouTube. So ladies and gentlemen, I want to bring up our guests. Our guests. Okay, let's see our guests. Awesome. Hey, give it up for our barrister, Barrister
Hello.
Stephen. Barrister, happy
Good
tonight.
day, everyone.
Yeah,
I hope you can hear me.
good evening. Yeah, it depends. Some people are not in Nigeria. Some people are joining.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not night. Okay, so
Okay.
Barrister, yeah, people are coming in the comments box. Yeah, wow, but you are welcome, Barrister. Okay, so good to have you.
Yes. Good day,
How
everyone.
has been the week
Yes.
so
Good day,
far?
everyone.
Yeah, everyone is great.
Well, it's been a very hectic week. In fact,
Wow.
I was just a few minutes ago that I came back, home to be able to meet up with this webinar. Still went for another presentation elsewhere today. So since the beginning of the week, it has been a very hectic back-to-back engagement. But
Wow.
this is one event that is very, very key, and it is important that, just like the host has said, um, well, for me, am I free to go on?
Yeah, hold on, Barrister. Hold on, Barrister. Before you let the cat
Okay,
out of the
okay.
bag, let's just warm the mind. Okay, so for those who are joining on Facebook, I encourage you to go live on our YouTube channel to be a part of this event, because that is where the real thing, the real delicacy is being shared. Okay, so I'm also going to drop the link in the comment box so that you can get it directly from the comment box. I'm talking about those who are on Facebook, but then for those of us who are on YouTube, good to have you here. Yes, welcome, Real Estate Solution. Okay, that's our channel. That's the admin manager. She's going to be assisting everyone here tonight in the chat box to, bring up your comments, bring up your questions, so that we can have you participate in the session. So I want to say welcome again. Welcome again. Okay, so Barrister, I will allow you to
Yeah.
flow. Yeah, I'm going to allow you to flow so that people can ask questions as you present your case. However, I want to just still say this again for those who are joining, who are live here on YouTube. I want you to maximize this session. I said something while preparing for this webinar that you can take the things you will learn from this webinar and go act on it. Some people will say, don't take my words as a legal advice. But I'm telling you that from the things you're going to be learning here tonight, you can take it as a legal advice. But of course, it has to be with discretion. It has to be with discretion. So you need a guide. Don't just do things on your own, especially if you have issues with maybe the property you have bought, the land you own somewhere, or you don't even know what to do about the land you already bought. This is the time for you to ask your questions, and then you can, get a valid answer and then take steps. But of course, should in case we are unable to address whatever challenge you have, whatever issue you have, you can reach out to us. You will get the contact on in the comments in the chat box. You are going to get the contact on how exactly you can reach us. But I want you to know that tonight you are going to learn something that can help you to truly create wealth with real estate. And that is exactly one of the things we are doing here tonight. So allow me to hand over to the man who will do justice to the topic: legal documentation and due diligence in real estate. So over to you, sir.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Olauton. I hope you can hear me clearly.
Yeah, clearly.
Go on. All right. Okay. Thank you very much once again. The name is Stephen Olashite. Um, Not just to give a brief introduction. And please, Mr. Olauton, before I continue, how many minutes do I have for this?
Okay, this session is to last for till this is 8:14. It's to last till 9:30 minimum. But should in case we extend maybe till, oh, did I say 9:30? Yeah, max 9:30. But of course, if we are able to finish before that time, we will. So you can still go on in the next 30 minutes, 35 minutes. So and the reason why we have such time is should in case we have questions that we need to address. So that's why given that time. There's no law that says that
Okay.
9:30.
All right. Thank you very much once again. So, um, this is an area, by way of introduction, once again, I'm Stephen Olashite, a legal practitioner, one that has had active experience in the real estate sector, working and consulting for quite a number of real estate companies and giving them quality legal advice. One of it is Whittyville Properties Limited that we are having the webinar today on the platform. So quickly, we just want to go straight into legal documentation and due diligence in Nigeria. So I often say something that a lot of people have had their fingers burnt in investing in real estate in Nigeria, and it appears to be such. I mean, if you were to ask some people, they'll say it's so difficult. It's so difficult to invest in real estate in Nigeria because there are just too many bottlenecks. But I will tell you that Um, all you need is just basically 5 steps, 5 steps that you need to take or you need to follow for you to be able to invest in real estate and not have issues. And as simple as they are, people still, fall into problem when they invest in real estate in Nigeria. And this I will be unraveling today, and you will discover that it's just quite easy. And I tell you, so to start with, what is the first step? And before you even delve into uh, buying real estate, of course, the first thing you need to determine or what will inform your decision is your budget. Your budget will determine the location where you would be looking at buying or purchasing your real estate. What do I mean? If you have um, 1 million naira, for instance, as your budget, it's very unlikely that you will be talking about buying a plot of land in Banana Island. It would be preposterous of you to say you want to, do that, because 1 million naira, I doubt. Perhaps you just buy maybe 4 or 5 square meters of land in Banana Island, because those places are quite expensive. So, what is your budget will determine the area and the location that you will be investing in. So, once you have sorted out the issue of your budget and which particular location, fits that budget, the next step that you need to now take is to scout out for the properties, engage, your realtor, engage your developer companies such as Whittyville Properties. They have, properties in different locations that might fit your portfolio or your interest. So you look at the different locations. These are the easy parts, but not easy at the same time, because um, you need somebody eyes on the. You need either to put your feet on the ground, go for that physical inspection, locate, be sure of accessibility, proximity to infrastructure and such other things that will make it easy for you to develop or perhaps enhance the value of the investment you want to make um, in the nearest future. So when you do those scouting, you've seen the land, you've seen the physical location, you are comfortable with it, and you want to proceed, then the legal steps start from that point, and that is you conducting your due diligence on that property. Your due diligence on the property is in two prongs. The first is you want to determine what is the status of the land. What is the status of the land? And by that, I mean you might not just be able to do that yourself. You need the services of a surveyor, a land surveyor, a registered land surveyor, to pick the coordinates of the land, of the location where that land is. And you want to do what we call a land information or charting to determine the status of the land. And the kind of information that you might get is that whether the land is free from government acquisition or it is within acquisition or out of acquisition. And you also want to confirm what is the land use, or if the land is free, what is the land use, designated for that area. Some areas are designated as industrial. Not too long ago, a client of mine, invested. This is a real estate developer, invested in some acres of land very close to Ekwe, just close to the boundary between Lagos and Ogun State in the Ekwe Ijebu-Ode Expressway. It was a very nice location. We went there; it was wonderful. But uh, I was telling the clients, please let your surveyor, chart this land. Let us know the status. But he was quite in a hurry, and the sellers, the family that wanted to sell, then were urgent upon him. So he just felt like, oh, the land is free. The land, we like the land. So we went ahead, did the contract of sale, and he made his first installment. However, I think 2 days after he made that payment, we discovered the land information came, and we discovered that the land is free from government acquisition, but 1.5 meters from the express road has been earmarked for industrial land use. So you can only develop a company maybe for manufacturing, you cannot use it for residential purpose, basically. And, it was such a very strong embargo on the land use. And it became a problem because what he needed the land for was for residential, for sale to customers. But at the end of the day, we discovered that his land fell within that 1.5 meters from the express road, and as such, he couldn't use it for that purpose. And he had invested money, and he needed to now start marketing it for commercial. You know, um, it was not a palatable experience, and all efforts, excuse me, all efforts to uh, get the land released, hasn't yielded. Um, you understand? Hasn't yielded much results. So that is how important your due diligence is, because the land can be free from acquisition, but the land use can also be a challenge. So it's not just for you to say, oh, the land is free from acquisition, but again, when the land is, there are two types of acquisition. Let me also point that out. That is when the land is under a committed acquisition. That is a no-no for you. When a land is under a committed acquisition, and what do you mean? What does it mean for a land to be under committed acquisition? That is, there is already a project, a named project to be developed in that area. For instance, a hospital, a general hospital, it could be a school, it could be a university, it could be airport, it could be anything. So long as a particular project has been named, that is a committed acquisition. For instance, I have some clients who bought land along the coastal road area, the coastal road, in cutting from even Ibejuleki all the way to Ekwe downwards. And due to the coastal road construction that is ongoing now, there's a particular distance from the coastal road that has been earmarked. Some of my clients fell victim. Their land fell within that axis, and they can't process any form of documentation on that land. So you just want to take some time, take your time to do that due diligence, to be ensured to determine the status of the land. Is it under acquisition? Is it outside? Then the other part, um, the other leg of acquisition is when it is uncommitted, uncommitted acquisition. And you find that happening in Lagos most times, um, where you just have a blanket acquisition, not as though you have a particular project. In the Bejuleki axis, for instance, you have what they call Lekki Reservation Acquisition. It's basically not a specific project, but however, the government placed that acquisition on the land so that you can come to the government to regularize, title on that land. So it's not a bad thing if the land has an uncommitted acquisition. You just when you find out, you get your professional, like your lawyer, to find out if um, you know you can do your regularization on that title. One thing about regularization is that it's more expensive, but you can still get your documents on that uh, on that land. So once you determine the status first and foremost, then what title does the seller have on the property? What title? And I'm sure those of us here must have heard 1,001 title documents. You hear people say, oh, the land has a certificate of occupancy, which is fine. That is issued from the government, from the state government, or if the land falls within a federal area or jurisdiction, you still have federal CFO, certificate of occupancy, in some areas as well. So I will just mention just a few of these title documents and their implications. For instance, if you hear that the land has a gazette, because most times you hear, oh, the land has a government gazette on the land. What it means is there has been an acquisition in that area previously, and the government then releases some parts of the acquired land back to the owners of the land, releasing it back to them for them to transact with, for them to sell. So when the land has a land gazette, it means, it is free from acquisition, and, it is also recognized. It's something, that gives comfort. But there are some sharp practices that also happens around these areas. I've seen instances where the families or the owners have sold entirely the land that has been released back to them under the excision, and they've delved into the one that is not free, but they will still keep giving you the excision document and telling you, oh, the land is free. Or some of them applied for the land to be released back to them, but they did not also conclude that process. So some of them even have excision surveys from the government, for instance, because they must have paid to that extent. Then when the assessment is given to them, which is very huge, most of the time they now start selling the land with the aim of raising money to pay. But when money starts coming in, other agendas come in, and they spend the monies, and you discover that they don't complete that process. The documentation they have on their acquisition is incomplete. So at times they may even show you those documents. You need a professional to be able to look through those documents, go to the relevant government departments to carry out the due diligence to discover if the land is truly excised. In the course of my um, you know experience, I've also seen where you have a land that is uh, under lease pendants. That is, it is under litigation. When my clients, when we conducted the land information on the land, what came out was that it is sub judice, meaning that the land is a subject of litigation in court. But if you don't do your due diligence, those information will not be discovered. So um, that is to tell you that is important. You may have to spend some money. That is the truth. But I feel that, let's assume you want to invest 10 million, 20 million, 30 million naira, especially if you're investing in highbrow areas, spending about 500,000 naira, for instance, to be sure that your 50 million naira investment does not go, into smoke, is not a big deal. Because if you don't do that, spend that money to do the due diligence, it might cost you. Yeah, at the end of the day, you might not be able to use. And you see, these are the things people don't follow. When you don't follow these processes and you just jump into a transaction, at the end of the day, you might not have a very good experience, at the end of the day. So let me go further. Once you are sure in this test scenario that the land is free, the land use is also for residential or for commercial, as the case may be, for the purpose that is suitable for the purpose that you want to use the land. Then you it's time for you to get further details about the seller. That is the time you now need to go into legal documentation. And there are different kinds of documentation depending on what you want to do. For instance, you may need to start off with a contract of sale. A contract of sale will give you the opportunity, because some sellers don't want buyers that will come and waste their time. Many people will come. If you have a property for sale, many people will come and say, oh, we want to investigate the title. They just come, take details, and they disappear. So at times, some sellers get weary and they want a serious buyer. So when you come, they say, no, let's enter into a contract of sale. The property is for sale for 10 million naira, but you need to commit a certain percentage, let's say 3 million naira, 4 million naira, for instance, and for you to investigate the title. But once, and within, let's say, 2 weeks, if you are able to confirm the title that is genuine and every other thing, then you complete the payment, you do your deed of assignment. But if you are actually sure that there's no encumbrance on the title, you can just go ahead and then pay, for your documentation, which is the deed of assignment. It depends on the location of the land. In some places, depending on where the land is located in an urban area or rural area. If it's in a rural area, some people they prepare what is called a deed of conveyance. I'm using Lagos State as a case study. There's hardly any part of Lagos that is classified as rural, these days. So you hardly find that you're doing deed of conveyance. But let's say in Ogun State or your state and some other states of the Federation, you may need to prepare a deed of conveyance if the land falls within the rural area, or if the land does not have a prior registered title at all. I also understand, and let me also make it clear here that there are some documents that are not um, cannot qualify as a land title. One of such is a power of attorney, even when it is made irrevocable, coupled with interest. That is, somebody has paid money. It is still basically an instrument of delegation of, authority, and can never translate to, an instrument of transfer of title. In some jurisdictions, particularly in the eastern part of Nigeria, they make use of um, the power of attorney a lot. But in the few occasions or some of the occasions I've had to do some transactions there, I insist, because they too will insist on the power of attorney. So I insist on preparing both a deed of assignment and the power of attorney. So sign the two, so that to protect my client. So a power of attorney is not, and there are Supreme Court decisions on this point, but it is still being generally used and practiced in those areas. Another document that is not single-handedly alone, you can't say is a title document, is a survey plan. You can see some documents that say what is the title document? They say a registered survey plan. A registered survey plan on its own alone is not a title document, but when it is together with a deed of assignment, then it becomes a part of the title documentation. Likewise, a deed of assignment alone without a survey plan, a registered survey plan as well, is not a proper title document. I also see some deed of assignment prepared by some lawyers, perhaps who don't have the knowledge and experience in real estate. They prepare a deed of assignment without referring to any survey plan. That is just a piece of paper. It is not a deed of assignment. The deed of assignment properly should refer to the land, describing it using the particulars of the survey plan on that land. So both must go together. And once you have that signed between the two parties, then you have your document. And let me also say that for most people, this is where their journey in terms of documentation, legal documentation for their properties, this is where it ends. A lot of people, once they prepare their deed of assignment, they get their lawyer, they pay their lawyer to prepare it, and it is signed, and they pay. They believe this is the end of the road. They take the deed of assignment. Some even lodge it at the bank. Some even keep it in their safe at home, and they believe they have bought land. I want to give you, I want to enlighten you today that that deed of assignment that you have kept in your safe or with the bank, that is not a registered deed of assignment. That is still a piece of paper that you are carrying about. Now, the legal acquisition of land in Nigeria is not complete until you perfect your title. And what does that mean? Perfection means you're submitting that document to the relevant government department for the registration of your title and to seek the governor's consent to your land acquisition. Your deed of assignment alone, that is has been executed between you and the seller is not, I repeat, is not the end of the road. You need to apply. And under the Land Use Act, the relevant sections of the Land Use Act, which is the principal uh, legal statute that is regulating land acquisition in Nigeria, the Land Use Act 1978. That law says that any transaction that is not done with the consent of the governor of that state is void. So you can buy the land, you can develop the land. If you have not perfected your title, the government can still come tomorrow to take over that property. In law, you have not acquired the property. You need to take that step to perfect your title by applying for the consent of the governor. Now, using Lagos as a case study, where the land is virgin, where the land is virgin, that is, there hasn't been any prior registered title on the land. What the documents you need to apply for is a certificate of occupancy. That is, if there is no prior, and I'm also aware that in Ogun State, that is also the that is also applicable. What you need, you cannot apply, you cannot say you are applying for a registered deed, I mean a consent on your deed. What you would apply for is for a certificate of occupancy on that land that does not have a prior registered title. But if the land already has, let's say, either a CFO or a registered deed that you can carry out your due diligence on, then you prepare your deed of assignment and you apply for governor's consent. Strictly, you apply for governor's consent on the document. On that document. It is until you have that registered document in your name, that is when you can be sure that you have invested in real estate. That is when you can go to sleep and say that you are transferring wealth to your coming generation. But if you bought that land and you only signed the deed of assignment and you kept it, it creates a lot of problems. I'm at the moment negotiating a land transaction. The seller bought the land several years ago from what we call Omonile in Lagos and most of the southwestern states. That is the customary landowners from time immemorial, the families. She bought it from them and had the deed of assignment from the family. Several years now, has not perfected her title. Now she wants to sell. The implication is the buyer, number one, because she doesn't have a registered title on that land. She can. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear
Hello?
you. Talk. The
Okay,
network
sorry.
behaving early.
Yes, it appears a call came in.
Okay.
Sorry, let me just quickly message the person so that it doesn't continue. So, so now, as I was saying, Hello. So as I was saying, the person does not have a registered title. So that is the seller. What that means now is that I advise that, look, for the buyer to be able to go into this transaction, the buyer needs to do execute a deed of assignment first with the seller and then with the seller's predecessors in title, which is the family that sold the land to the seller. That way, the seller will have, the buyer now will have a document that can be taken to the land registry for registration, for the lands bureau, or land registry, as the case may be, for registration, for perfection of title. Some lawyers will tell you, oh, it's a no-go area. No, don't go into the transaction. This person has no registered title. But it is what we call an inchoate transaction. The person that bought has not perfected. And in some cases, you have a chain of almost 4 to 5 buyers that bought from the Omonile, resold, bought, resold, and none of them did perfection of title. It creates a lot of problem, in terms of perfection of title, because for instance, in Lagos, there's what we call double consent. If Mr. A bought land from Omonile and did not do his does not perfect his title and sold to Mr. B. Now, if Mr. B is to do his perfection of title and goes to the land registry will charge Mr. B what Mr. A was supposed to pay to the government for his transaction with the Omonile. Then, in addition, charge Mr. B, the assessment for the transaction between Mr. A and Mr. B. That is double consent. So if you were supposed to pay 1 million naira, for instance, as your assessment for consent, you may end up paying 2 million naira or 3 million naira, as the case may be. So this is why it is important that everybody that buys land should take that further step. And I want to say that if everybody follows these clear principles, these clear steps, we won't be having issues of 419. People who don't own land that go and say they are selling land, because all you need to do is you are the registered owner. You take anybody who wants to buy will go to the land registry, do their search, discover that the person who owns the land, and know this is the person they are dealing with. But because a lot of people buy properties and they don't perfect title, it leaves room for fraudsters to come and pose as the owner of the property, and you part with your money. So it is very, very important. It is a very important step that needs to be taken. I just want to look for a copy of a registered deed of assignment to just show to us as an example. Maybe by the time we are dealing with questions, I will locate one. So okay, this is what a deed of assignment looks like. I don't know if you can see one there. This is one prepared between a client and I don't want the names of the parties to be, because it's confidential. So if you don't do this, if you don't take these steps, it becomes a problem. And that is why we are having the problem of people being duped. You have a problem of people buying from the wrong source, because a lot of people buy land and they don't simply don't want to do the right thing. In Nigeria, there are laws. We have good laws, but by and large, we have abandoned those laws, and it is creating a lot of problems. Of course, it's going to cost you money to do that. You're going to engage a lawyer, you're going to, pay. But I've also come across very adamant, clients. When you advise them, oh, these are the steps you need to take, they say, no, lawyer, you are complicating the process. Don't worry. I trust the person that is selling the land. Tomorrow you can't go to court and say, what is your basis? How did you come, into acquisition of the land? And you say, oh, I trusted the person. That is not tenable in the court of law. Did you follow the laid down process, the procedures? The answer is either yes or no. So, once you have been able to do that, once you have been able to perfect your title, then you can go to bed, you can go to rest. And let me also sound a note of warning here, because a lot of people buy land, also do this due diligence, or carry out all these things, perfect their title, and then they go to sleep. I was doing this presentation somewhere, the person said that, oh, after I do this, I can go to sleep. No, when you buy a property and you go through all these processes, as I've told you, you got your C of O, for instance. You also took physical possession. It's also important for you to take physical possession. At least fence the land. Don't just leave it bare. Yes, we know that some people may encroach on the land if you don't take possession. It might be difficult for them to take the land from you if you discover on time that somebody has encroached on your land. And this note of warning goes to people outside the country. Outside the country, you don't just buy land and say, because I know quite a number of people in diaspora buy land for investment purposes. You don't just go to sleep. What do you need to do? Regularly, after taking possession, send people there. If the land is bare, that means after some time it will be overgrown with weed, with, you understand, grass or whatever. It's either you get some people to be farming for you on the land, or regularly you send people there to go and weed it, take pictures and keep. You are keeping records of your possession of the land. And in doing that, you will quickly discover when somebody or some people are trying to encroach on your property. I even know you understand. So it's even after, because I'm saying this because there is a particular law. It's called limitation law of the different states of statute of limitation law of the various states. And that law principally or basically provides for the timeline for different transactions, the timeline within which you can come to court to complain. Assuming somebody encroached on your land that is rightfully yours, there's a time frame for you to come to court. If you don't come within that time frame, your right is set to become statute barred, even though you have a C of O on that land. Assuming you went through all this process I've been talking about, and then after getting it, you just, you went to sleep, you were waiting for when you are going to reap the benefits of your investment. If somebody encroaches on your land and that person has been in possession, active possession, for a continuous period of 12 years, when it has to do with land, you may not be able to assert your right any longer. Your right becomes statute barred. You will not be able to challenge that person in court. The person, in fact, can sue you for trespass with your C of O. So, what am I saying? You need to take possession of your property. Also ensure that you are going there regularly with pictures, with evidence that you are in active possession of the land. So I want to say to you that if you follow these steps, if you follow these principles, you will not have problems. You will not encounter problems. You will discover any problematic land before you invest your money. But if along the chain you omit one of these steps, you omit following these steps that I've outlined, there is a chance, a likelihood that you will have issues investing in real estate. And within the past just 30 minutes, I've run through the steps you need to take for your for due diligence and title documentation in Nigeria. It's very simple. If you follow these steps, you will not have issues. It's as simple as this. And you will be wondering, why is it then that a lot of people still have issues? Of course, when you buy your land and you want to develop, there are also laws that govern those aspects. Of course, you have to apply for building approval from the Ministry of Physical Planning. You understand? That is another aspect. You just have to follow through on all this. Don't just go and build your house. Even when you have your good title, the government can still come and demolish that house if it does not have a building approval from the relevant government department. These are the things that should be followed. And I wonder why somebody would build a house worth 100 million, 150 million, and does not care to spend the basic, maybe 2, 3, 5 million naira to just do the basics. And later, when the government comes to demolish, you'll now be doing Twitter, Instagram live. Hey, they are investing. No, 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 no. We should be smarter than this. This is 2024. Anybody that falls into these types of problems going forward has him or herself to blame. And that is the summary of the presentation, the webinar today. I hope I've been able to touch on different dark areas that are not clear to you, but I've been seeing some questions that have been popping up, and the moderator, the few time that we have left in this webinar, will be looking at them, and I'll be addressing them as we go ahead. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Wow. I said it from the beginning that tonight's session will be hot, and the comment box is full already. So people are mentioning that getting a lot from this webinar tonight. So guys, I also don't want you to miss the question and answer session, because there are a lot of things that you also need to unravel here. And I've been seeing some questions in the chat box. I will be asking those questions. However, I would like to start from here, Barrister. While
Okay.
this question just popped up in my mind that with all of these things, is real estate actually cheap? Because when we look at the noise everywhere, real estate is this, real estate is that. And of course, we're also a part of the yes, real estate is this. Or hold on, sir. Before you even answer the, I want to make an offer. Let me share this offer, and I'm going to tell you how much you have done to ensure that this offer is covered or is within the jurisdiction of the law. So we have this
Okay.
offer called Wealth. We'll be launching it on the 1st of October 2024. And Green
Okay.
Wealth offers every subscriber the opportunity to truly create wealth with real estate. So this is not the normal you buy land or you buy land for residential or you buy land for farming. This is not the normal one. This allows you to, of course, get an acre of land, minimum an acre of land, then any amount you are paying, it comes with documentation. So it means you are getting a deed of assignment, and of course, you're also getting a copy of the registered survey. And the reason why we are giving out a copy of the registered survey is because we are doing a general register survey. And of course, we still allow people to do their individual survey. But to ensure that the land is secured, so we are giving a copy of the survey, registered survey, and but everyone subscribing will have access to their individual deed of assignment. And apart from that, when you also subscribe for Green Wealth, you have opportunity to also earn passive income on a yearly basis. And we're also going to be in this relationship with you for the next 5 years. Somebody don't want to miss that offer because it's something that you have been waiting for. That someday you also be able to create wealth, real estate. And this is one of the things that we are doing for you, and it will be launched on the 1st of October. So if you are joining me and be a part of this, whether you want to sell this offer to other people or you want to subscribe for this, you can surely be a part of this wealth creation journey with View Properties Limited. So this of you just watch out for updates on 1st of October. If you cannot wait, then you can send us a DM and we will definitely answer your questions. So to the question. So do you think with all of this, is real estate actually cheap?
I used to tell my clients who say, oh, our clients are paper sellers. They cannot afford to pay for um, perfection of title. They cannot afford to pay for a land. Any land that has a registered title can never be cheap. It most definitely will be expensive because it costs a leg and an arm, to register this, to get a registered title on these lands. A land as cheap as 400,000, 500,000 naira, 1 million naira to do the documentation, to pay for documentation, and also to perfect your title might cost you another 2 million naira. But the law is the law. There's the saying that the ignorance of the law, it's a maxim, a legal maxim. The ignorance of the law is not an excuse. That I don't know is not an excuse. So, um, putting this into perspective, there's no cheap land. There won't be a cheap land if everybody does what they are supposed to do. Because all the monies you have spent to perfect your title, will reflect in the price. It will reflect in the price. But as real estate developers, you help the customers to achieve their dream. First thing that the real estate developer gives to you is that security. Security that your land is safe. Nobody will come and encroach on the land. However, there is a huge number of people who have bought properties from real estate companies that have failed to pay for documentation because they feel it's not necessary anymore. No, no. I tell you, you need to pay for the documentation and to have it registered in your name. That singular, that 500 square meter, that 600 square meter that you have bought needs to be registered in your name. You need to get the documents. The receipts and maybe contract of sale is not sufficient. Now, just as a point of reference to the products you just mentioned, you said a copy of the global
Register.
registered survey will be given to them. I would say a copy of their individual surveys, registered individual surveys, should go with the deed of assignment.
Okay.
Find out what it will cost each person to have their surveys on their own portions of that 1 acre, and let them pay for it so that in the course of my presentation, I said a survey plan without a deed of assignment is incomplete. A deed of assignment without also a survey plan is incomplete.
Awesome. Awesome.
And it
Thank
doesn't.
you.
And some and if the seller has surveyed the land with his own name, you as the new buyer, you need to resurvey it again with your own name on it. You cannot rely on the survey plan of the seller. You need your individual survey plan. So please add that to the documentation cost. So
Awesome.
when we are looking at it, at the end of the day, it's not cheap. It's not cheap. So let's go to the next question.
Okay. So we have a lot of questions that are coming in. Thank you, Barrister. Somebody wanted to ask. Okay, somebody was asking in the comment box earlier that how can he differentiate or identify? How can he identify an authentic deed of assignment and a registered survey?
Okay. Um, the of course every let me start with the survey. Every survey must have um, the survey plan number. That's number one. On the survey, there is what is referred to as the beacons. Beacons, that identifies the corners. Depending on the shape of the land, you might just have, if it's a square land or a rectangular land, you might just have 4 beacons. You understand? But if it is irregular, maybe it has about some irregular shape, you might have more than 4. So each of those beacons will have what is called a beacon numbers. And once I see a survey plan, I know whether it is registered or not. So those are the things. But the best way to do it is you just pick the survey plan number and go to the Surveyor General's office to search if that survey is registered. That is the way you will identify. Then an authentic deed of assignment will carry some features. Um, the other day, a client of mine called me because he saw a TikTok video done by a lawyer saying that if your document does not have epitome of title, your does not have epitome of title, it is invalid. And my clients quickly, developer quickly look and say, ah, lawyer, yeah, does he have epitome of title? I started laughing. You know, the reciter, after the introduction of the parties, the next segment in a deed of assignment is what we call a recital or epitome of title. You know, he read through, he did not see anywhere they wrote epitome. So he was like, ah, it's like my deed is not valid. But I told him, no, the epitome of title or the recital is where you give a history of the title, of how the land moved from the original owners to the person that is selling to you.
Mm.
So that recital must have that history, a clear history. Some people will just say, no, the seller is the owner of the land. How did he become the owner? Did the land just came from heaven? You know, you have
Mm.
to trace it. So that is one aspect. Then, like I said, it must contain the particulars of the survey plan. Are you getting me? Every proper deed of assignment must also contain an indemnity clause that says that in the event that the title to the land of the seller is challenged successfully by a third party that is not the rightful owner to sell it, then the seller will indemnify you for the cost of buying the land and whatever you have developed on the land, or the cost of going to court to enforce your rights. So when you have all this, it must also contain a schedule. A schedule is also a part of the deed that also captures the description of the land. Then lastly, it must also contain the last aspect, the execution part, obviously, where you as the buyer will sign, the seller will also sign. Then lastly, it will also contain the section where you have the consent uh, clause of the governor of the state. You will see it at the tail end where it will write, I hereby consent to this transaction. Then you have, the space for the signature of the governor or the commissioner, the attorney general of the state of that where the land is located. So once you glance through like that and you see, I have a client that bought some properties and a lawyer had already prepared a deed for him and collected money. But when I saw the deed, because his instruction to me was that take the document, go and do perfection. But when I saw the document is not, the deed is not the type of deed that if it gets to land registry, they will reject it because it did not
Mm.
contain, it didn't refer to any survey, it didn't include, you know, a schedule, it didn't also have this consent of the governor as well. So I advised him, please, you need to do another deed. And he had to pay me almost £1 million to do that. And he had paid the lawyer earlier. So these are the things that you need to look out for in your deed. So let's go to the next question.
Okay, awesome. I also don't want you to miss the part where the lawyer's seal and the signature, the detail of the chamber are
Yes,
also
yes,
on page.
mhm,
I once saw a deed,
yes,
and then the colleague was showing me, he said this is his deed of assignment. No lawyer's information, no seal, no signature. That was the first thing I saw. I said, bros, this thing is not a, this one is indeed.
yeah.
So
That one
of
was
the
done at the business center.
so also okay, before we move away from deed of assignment, somebody was asking earlier that why 4 copies of deed of assignment?
Okay, we prepare 4 copies because in case apply, you want to apply for your perfection of title, you will need a minimum of 2 copies.
Mm.
A minimum of 2 copies. In some cases, you may send in 3 copies. In that case, 2 copies will be returned back to you. If you put in 2 copies for your application for perfection, 1 copy will be returned back to you. So, and assuming you also want to apply for your building approval, you will need a copy as well of
Mm.
your title documents to be submitted. So the last copy is just, at least if you have applied for registered survey, I mean registered perfection of title, you have also applied for building approval, you should still have at least 1 more copy with you. Do you understand? Um, so that you can still have maybe an extra copy with you. So depending, you might get 3 copies, you might get 4 copies. So that is why we do it like that.
Okay, awesome. So let's move to this question that has to do with land and housing. Somebody was asking, why is this are these issues? Why are these issues peculiar to land? So for me, I want to ask it in this way. Most of these issues you have mentioned, are they just peculiar to land, or buildings or properties are also inclusive?
You
Because
said what, sir?
some people contemplate whether you should do more of building than buying of land. Go ahead, sir.
Oh no, I didn't get the question. It was breaking.
Okay, okay. The question was, um, somebody was asked that seems land has issue more than buildings, or and then wanted if issues are peculiar to land than the building.
Okay, not necessarily. Not necessarily. If you follow this same process, if you don't follow these processes that I've laid down, even if it is a house, anything can happen in Nigeria. People can still build houses, not have proper documentation, and build the house and sell it. You understand? When officials come from the state department, they bribe them, give them money, and after that, you discover that somewhere along the line, a stricter sheriff comes to town and says, no, there's no go area, I'm going to demolish, and you have issues. So it is not peculiar to just land, it is also applicable to house. If you want to buy a house, you still need to do your due diligence. What is the title to the land? You need to also find out, people can build in an area where it is not residential, they will still go ahead and do it. So you need to find out, okay, if it's a developed property, where is the building approval, the final, because there are two approvals. There's a temporary one and there is the final. When you start the process, a temporary approval will be given to you to continue, and they will be monitoring the building as it is progressing. Then when you complete and you have followed all the necessary process, then they now give you a final approval. So what you are asking for is, where is the final approval of the development? So it's also important that you go through this. Find out, okay, what is the title? Does this property have a registered title before the owner developed the property? These questions are not peculiar to just land. It's also applicable to houses.
Awesome. Okay, so somebody was asking, if the land acquisition haven't been perfected and governments come for the land, will they, like, who the owner of the land, be considered by the government?
No, you cannot benefit from your wrong. The law says that when you buy land, seek for the consent of the governor. And it says that if you don't seek the governor's consent, that transaction is void. You don't expect government to come and pay you compensation over a void transaction. They will say, "Oh, yeah, sue us to court now." Do you understand? So if the law says that when you don't seek the governors, when you don't perfect your title, that transaction is void. So why would the government now pay compensation on a void transaction?
Barrister.
Yes.
Yeah, talking about that. Now, it's the government that owns the land or families. Who owns land?
Okay. That is a very good question. There's what is called deemed right of occupancy.
Mm.
Deemed right of occupancy is recognized under the Land Use Act of families that own land from time immemorial before the Land Use Act came into operation. And the Land Use Act says that they have a right to apply to the government to issue them right of occupancy, certificate of occupancy over their land. Now, because it is expensive to get a certificate of occupancy, most of these families don't do it. That said, the government also recognizes them by virtue of this provision of the law that they own the land. Are you with me? So, but the Land Use Act now brings the government in, saying that the governor of the state, the land belongs to the people, but the governor is holding it in trust for the people. It's just another way of saying you are the owner, you are not the owner. Any sale of land must be with the consent of the governor of the state where the land is located. And a lot of people come and say, oh, the family has freehold title. Freehold title means that you own the land in perpetuity without any limitation for the next 1 billion years. If we are still here on this earth, that land still belongs to you. However, the day the family decide to sell that land that is freehold, that is virgin, nobody has done any registration, any registered title on the land. The moment they decide to sell, they cannot transfer that freehold title to the new buyer. Because once they sell and the buyer applies for perfection of title, he will get a CFO, which is the term is for 99 years, and you become a tenant of the governor. You become a tenant of the uh, government for 99 years. It converts that title to a leasehold for 99 years. After 99 years, you need to go back to the government to renew the C of O. So that is what it becomes. So yes, the law acknowledges the families as the original owners, but you need to also get the consent of the governor for buying the land.
Awesome. Okay. Moving away from that, somebody is asking, how can I know if a land is just earmarked for residential or commercial? Is it when I'm doing my land charting?
Um, you can get the land use information from the Ministry of Regional Planning and Urban Development. They are the ones that zones areas, you understand, for different uses. So if you do your charting might just tell you whether the land is free from government acquisition or not. It will not tell you the land use. The department or the proper department to or ministry to get that information is at the Ministry of Regional Planning and Urban Development. That is where you will get that information to get what is the use of that particular land.
Awesome. Okay, well, our time is fast spent, ladies and gentlemen. Our time is fast spent. Don't forget, this is a free class. It's not a paid class, but of course, we have not looked at
Somebody is
that.
saying here that why are there high risks in buying land? I'm telling you, see, just follow these steps. I'm ready to just spend a bit more money. Like I said, if you want to be high keeping the money, you will fall into wrong hands. That is the truth.
Mm, absolutely.
It is
If you
that is
want to,
just the truth.
yeah, if you want to
And
create wealth,
recognize, recognized, verified developers, property developers with track records.
yeah,
You understand? So that have track record of allocating land to their customers that have bought from them.
mm,
And you understand that they don't have issues. Issues may come up because, again, dealing with these homoniles, the developers, that is the companies, only take your position, prevent you from dealing with your moniles directly. But some developers also fall into the same problem of dealing with a
yeah,
particular family, and all of a sudden the family splits into two or three, and they start fighting amongst themselves.
mm,
And another issue for the company. So those types, there are ways the companies know how to settle those issues, as long as they ensure that they give you allocation of your land. But once they
allocation.
have done that, the ball is now in your court to do the necessaries. When it's time for you to pay for your documentation, don't hesitate. Buy land and do your documentation, have your documents, then do your perfection of title as soon as you can afford to do it. Thank you.
Also, yeah, great. So before I ask the next question, I want to say this to everyone joining on this webinar and those who will watch later. This is one thing I want you to know. There are three things you pay for when you buy land. There are three things you pay for. And even if you are buying a property, a building, a house, you still pay for some of these things. Of course, why some are important, some are optional, but of course not optional, so to say. Now, let me just mention those three things. Number one, you pay for land. You paid for land. So if you are buying the land from the family, an individual, or even from the government, you pay for the land. There's no way you can escape that. The number two, you also pay for documentation. You see, documentation starts from when you start making inquiry, start going to check around if the land is secured, if the land is free. So you are beginning your payment for, document everything that has to do with ensuring that you buy right. So you pay for documentation, including your survey, your deed of assignment, your C of O, and every other legal document that you should process. And number three, you pay for development. Now, when I talk about development, of course, most of the time it is optional, and again, it is also not optional. It is optional because if you are not buying from a real estate company or a developer, you can decide to do that on your own. So, for example, you buy a land somewhere, and then the community have seen that you will need light. You cannot just tap into the community's light without paying. So the amount you pay the community is tagged developmental fee. Is under developmental fee, because the same amount you pay a developer to bring to construct the road within the estate, to bring in electricity, security, water, and other things, they are also under developmental fee. So every other payment you may want to do is PR. But these are three things that you pay for when you are buying land. And if you are even buying a property or a building, you still do your documentation after paying for the property. You do your documentation. And God so good, the house you also still need to do some renovation or some other things. You still need to pay for development. So these are the things that you pay for. Just prepare your mind, except if the developer says that whatever amount you are paying or they ask you to pay, all of these other things are included. If not, you would have to pay for these things separately. Okay. So there's a question, barrister. Somebody is asking, sir, what if the family decides to appoint one or two developers to erect properties on their behalf, that is on their land? What title will, is it the family now or the developer? What title will accompany this kind of deal?
Okay. Let's assume that the property has a CFO, for instance. The owner or the family has a CFO on the land, and they now get a developer to develop the property for them. They are not selling it. What they would do, the document that will be prepared is a joint venture agreement. A joint venture agreement. And after the property is developed, let's say a block of flats was developed on it, maybe 4 flats, and they decide to share it 50-50. That is 2-2, as the case may be. Now, the owners will now prepare a deed, what we call a deed of partitioning. A deed, not deed of assignment, deed of partitioning for the developer, for his own portion. And it is that deed of partitioning which is registrable, which the developer may need to register as well, that they will now use, they can say, present, the developer can present as his own title. As for the uh, family that owns it, they don't need any further documentation because the property still remains like you buying land and you are developing your land. You don't need, or apart from applying for the building approval, you don't need any other form of title. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, great. Somebody is saying, thank you so much, barrister. Presenter, we need more of this valuable information. Please, sir, let us know the next webinar. People like me need to be informed, lest we fall into the wrong ends. And that's the simple truth. I came into real estate, and since 2013, I've been here. I've tried everything possible to ensure that whatever deal, whatever transaction I'm doing with anybody is clean, is not coming with any issue. Recently we had a customer in our organization, and the customer brought another customer, another friend of his, and there was going to be they were going to have issues. So I discussed with the lawyer, with the barrister about them, and I didn't know that the barrister or the lawyer of the friend that our customer brought will still contact our own lawyer. And because we have, of course, mentioned or told the lawyer what the issue has been, so he was able to defend everything. So what I'm saying in essence now is that, yeah, as much as we try to, especially beginning with me and then the organization I run, as much as we are trying to ensure that people don't lose their money, their investment, whatever property they buy through us, we also don't play down on what is important, like working with legal practitioners, working with other professionals like chartered surveyors and other people in the real estate space, so that we can get all of these things sorted once and for all. We don't. Somebody said because there are original, that is why we have the fake. So the fact that the fake or fake products are more pronounced out there doesn't mean that we don't have original. So you just need to ask the right people the right questions so that you can get the right answer. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have really, really done so much in this webinar. Don't worry. Let's see if we can do part two, or we just find another, maybe in another 2 months, 3 months, we'll come up with this session again, because more people still need to learn what is happening here. And let me also say this before I ask the barrister to share with us his last words, a parting word. You can't do things alone. No matter how much it will cost you to do the right thing, just ensure you are doing the right thing. Pay the money now, because you will definitely make the money later. We always say that real estate is not expensive, but of course, if you look at all of the documentation you need to do, you will see that it's expensive. But in the real sense of it, it is not expensive, because in the nearest times when you want to resell, you are not selling it in any way lower than the amount you have spent to ensure that the right things are done. So that is one of the reasons why we are saying it is not expensive today. But if you do the right thing, you will definitely reap the gain, the profit from it. So don't shy away from doing the right thing. Thank you. Barrister, please, over to you before we wrap up.
Okay, I would just want to say in closing that what is worth doing at all is worth doing well. If you want to
Absolutely.
invest in real estate, consult the professionals that have experience in real estate. People have different specializations, and I would say that some professionals are not, strictly well grounded in real estate, so they may not also advise you appropriately. Some may scare
Mhm,
you away from a good investment that just
mhm,
needs a bit of, tweaking. Like I said the other time, even if the person that you bought from has not done perfection, you can get the family to still prepare a deed for you. You understand? In addition to the deed from the seller, and that would have cured, the defects in court, and you would still get your good title that you can perfect. So, what is worth doing at all is worth doing well. If you want to invest in real estate, don't uh, despise or take lightly your documentation. It is very important. Taking possession of the property is also important, and checking it from time to time. This will allow you to quickly detect if there is an encroachment and there's going to be an issue, and you can act fast. So once you do all this, you are going to sleep, and your investment, knowing that your investment is going to yield you know returns in the nearest future, whether you are developing, whether you're living on it. Whenever you want to sell, or pass it to your children, you know that you are giving them a valuable asset, as it were. Thank you.
awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. Please drop in the comment box a thank you note to the barrister and also to the organizer of this webinar, Whittyville Properties Limited. And I also want to use this medium to also mention to everyone, we have a blog where we share a lot of information about real estate. We call it eoreblog.com, eoreblog.com, eoreblog.com. So you can read up information about real estate, everything you need to know we share. Just ensure that you give it time, and you will definitely learn a lot on the blog. And apart from that, we also have an offer for everyone on the live chat tonight, that you can subscribe for our Green Wealth. It is an offer that will just be launching on the 1st of October. So Green Wealth allows you to create wealth, build wealth with real estate. And also, of course, you are not just buying land, you're also going to be earning passive income on a yearly basis when you are a part of this offer. And you can get more information about that when we do the launching. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, thank you, thank you, everyone. Yeah, everyone is saying thank you. Thank you, Victor Ogungbemi. Thank you for joining. Iyanu Oluwa
Thank you,
Famrewa,
everyone.
thank you for joining. Evangelist Joshua Oreke, thank you for joining. I also saw some other people earlier. If you are still on the webinar and you have not dropped a comment, please drop a comment. Yes, Discover with Tia. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. Akinloye Sunday. Thank you. We celebrate everyone. Thank you all. Thank you all. Barrister, thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen,
You're welcome.
I should also mention to you that our complaint lawyer is Barrister Stephen Olashite. That's our guest tonight. And I must say that he's doing a lot for us. And you also need to, bring your documentation if you need one. Bring it. Let Barrister help you handle it. You can as well recommend people to come and perfect their title, or even if they are just going to buy land, let them involve a legal practitioner. Don't be afraid that the money is much. I can tell you, even if, don't let me even tell you it's much, because you will definitely get the value for your money. Okay. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Barrister. This has been a wonderful time. I have learned a lot myself. And I also know that everyone joining also learn a lot from tonight's webinar. Thank you. I regards to your family. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think it's a good time to say bye to everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, thank
Yes.
you. Bye, everyone. Bye, bye, bye.